Hello everyone. Welcome to our session for today. Today we'll be talking about defense technology progress in India. We will be majorly focusing on the last 1.5 to 2 years, and we'll be dealing in depth with missiles in news, new technology in news, certain LCH, that is light combat aircrafts and helicopters in news, submarines in news, etc. We will also be covering some terminologies related to defense which have been in the news. This is particularly important for your GS3 syllabus because defense broadly falls under the heading of science and tech. Also, some part of it is relevant in internal security preparation. With this, let us begin our discussion. So before we begin the class, we need to understand why are we reading about this? Why is defense so important? I mean, obviously, it is a part of our syllabus. लेकिन डिफेंस ही क्यों? So see, apart from an industrial perspective of things, there's a broader dimension that you need to understand. Have a look at the two charts given in the first row, that is chart number 1 and chart number 2 on your screen. So can you see how the government's investment in this sector has seen an incremental rise over the years? Also, can you see that this has translated to a 10-fold increase in 6 years in India's defense exports? Which means that the government is paying a very special attention to this sector. It is a growing sector in terms of industrialization. Just out of curiosity, if you need to know where do India's defense exports go, so we are majorly exporting to Myanmar, and among all the defense equipments that we are exporting, 61% are ships. So this is the industrial or the economical side of things. There's another aspect of defense. Defense is particularly important for the safety and security of a country. Especially if you have a look at the geopolitical situation around you, be it in West Asia, be it in Europe, you will very easily be able to guess how important is defense. You don't even need to go that far. Have a look at our own borders, the LAC crisis, or the ongoing dispute with Pakistan. So it is very important that India has a very strong hold in the defense sector. Having a robust defense system provides a country with a voice, provides safety and security to its citizens. Hence, defense as an industry, as a sector, is very crucial for its economic, for its security, for its safety purposes, and in the entire geopolitical standing of a nation. Right? Now let us move ahead. So our first topic for today is missile-related news, wherein we will be covering the missiles that have been in news recently. So if you would have analyzed UPSC CSE PYQs, you would have seen that certain topics are very relevant, very important for defense. They usually ask certain missiles which have been in news or helicopters which have been in news. They give the name and they say this has been in news recently. What is it? So here, as we go on discussing, you have to understand that you need to know the names of the missile for sure. What kind of a missile is it? Certain specifications, not everything, because it is not possible to learn so many quantitative or numerical values. But you should know if India has made that indigenously or has it been produced as a partnership with some other country. That's all, more or less. So our first missile for today is the BrahMos cruise missile. BrahMos cruise missile. Before we proceed, what is a cruise missile? So missiles can majorly be divided into two categories: cruise missile and ballistic missile. The difference between them is the trajectory of a cruise missile would look somewhat like this, but that of a ballistic missile looks like this. A cruise missile, as you can see from the figure, does not attain an altitude equal to the ballistic missile. A ballistic missile goes to the atmosphere, out of the atmosphere, and then comes again. A cruise missile, on the other hand, has lesser altitude, but a cruise missile is guided throughout its path, unlike a ballistic missile, which is guided only here during the initial point. Hence, a missile is much more accurate than a ballistic missile. All right. So BrahMos is a cruise missile. Why are we reading about it? It has been in news because Philippines has signed a deal for purchase of BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles. It has been in news because of this, so we are reading about it. Another term here, supersonic. What is a supersonic missile? So supersonic basically denotes the speed at which a missile is operating. So if you have a look here, a subsonic missile is one जिसकी speed Mach या Mach 1 से कम होती है, where Mach 1 is the speed of sound. अगर एक मिसाइल की स्पीड Mach 1 से Mach 5 के बीच में होती है तो उसे हम कहते हैं सुपरसोनिक मिसाइल, which means सुपरसोनिक क्रूज मिसाइल जो ब्रह्मोस है उसका स्पीड रेंज करेगा Mach 1 से Mach 5 के बीच. Next is your hypersonic missile system which has a speed greater than Mach 5. सो ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल हमारा क्रूज मिसाइल है जो सुपरसोनिक क्रूज मिसाइल है. ये एक लॉन्ग रेंज सुपरसोनिक क्रूज मिसाइल सिस्टम है जो कोलैबोरेशन बिटवीन इंडिया एंड रशिया के साथ बनाया गया है. इट इज अ 2-stage मिसाइल वेयर द फर्स्ट स्टेज इज सॉलिड एंड द सेकंड स्टेज इज लिक्विड. It operates at fire and forget principle. What is this? Usually, suppose this is an aircraft carrier. It is carrying a missile. All right. So when this aircraft carrier launches the missile, it hits the target. This aircraft carrier waits for an acknowledgement from this side to relaunch the next missile. Got it? This happens in conventional missiles. Obviously, this is a time-taking procedure. लेकिन फायर एंड फॉरगेट प्रिंसिपल में ये जो चीजें होती है ना, ये कंप्यूटराइज्ड हो जाती है. समझ आई बात? तो क्योंकि अभी कंप्यूटराइज्ड हो गई तो ये हमारा वेटिंग टाइम रिड्यूस हो जाता है. तो यही होता है फायर एंड फॉरगेट प्रिंसिपल कि हमारे कैरियर को बार बार वेट नहीं करना पड़ता है अपना काम करने के बाद. ठीक है. इसका रेंज है अराउंड 600 किलोमीटर. तो ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल एक क्रूज मिसाइल है, सुपरसोनिक क्रूज मिसाइल है, लॉन्ग रेंज है अराउंड 600 किलोमीटर जो कि एक अच्छा वैल्यू होता है. ये इंडिया और रशिया के साथ कोलैबोरेशन में बनाया गया है. अभी ये न्यूज में क्यों है? क्योंकि फिलीपींस के साथ हमारा डील साइन हुआ है फॉर द परचेज ऑफ दिस मिसाइल. ये फायर एंड फॉरगेट प्रिंसिपल पे काम करता है. चलो, नेक्स्ट मिसाइल है अग्नि 3. So a successful training launch of Agni 3 intermediate range ballistic missile has been carried out. That is why it has been in news. What is an intermediate range ballistic missile? So ballistic missile तो आपको पता है, मैंने अभी बताया क्रूज मिसाइल, बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल. अब ये intermediate range क्या होता है? तो any missile that operates between the range of 3000 to 5500 kilometer is known as an intermediate range missile. तो अग्नि 3000 किलोमीटर से ऊपर ऑपरेट करती है. दैट इज व्हाई इट इज एन इंटरमीडिएट रेंज बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल. गॉट इट? It has the capacity of a payload of 1.5 tons and it has been developed under Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. What is this? So ये जो हमारा Integrated Guided Missile Development Program होता है, इसे लॉन्च किया गया है इन द ईयर 1983 में. ये ब्रेन चाइल्ड है डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम का. और इसके अंदर देयर आर 5 मिसाइल्स दैट वी आर एमिंग टू प्रोड्यूस. हाउ डू वी रिमेंबर द नेम्स? यूज द निमोनिक पटना. P is for पृथ्वी, A is for अग्नि, T is for त्रिशूल, N is for नाग, A is again for आकाश. ये जो पूरा प्रोसेस है ना, ये 1983 में शुरू हुआ है, बट इट इज स्टिल ऑनगोइंग. व्हाई? बिकॉज देयर आर मल्टीपल वेरिएशंस जो आपको एक मिसाइल में ही देखने को मिलेगा, जैसे अग्नि 1, 2, 3, 4. सो डिपेंडिंग ऑन रेंज, स्पीड, टेक्नोलॉजी जो यूज हुई है, वी आर कंटिन्यूअसली अपग्रेडिंग इट. ठीक है. सो ये जो हमारा अग्नि 3 है, इट कम्स ब्रॉडली अंडर आर दिस प्रोग्राम विच इज इंटीग्रेटेड गाइडेड मिसाइल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम. कमिंग टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. Our next missile for today is Pralay missile. Pralay missile has been in news क्योंकि उसका maiden flight test, the first flight test was conducted by DRDO. It is indigenously developed and it is a surface to surface missile. It is India's first conventional quasi-ballistic missile. What does this mean? Quasi-ballistic है, ठीक है? Ballistic नहीं है, which means there's a catch here. So now you know what is a ballistic missile. How are you going to draw the trajectory of a ballistic missile? ऐसे, right? The thing about Pralay missile is that it does not reach this height. इसकी height ना conventional ballistic missile से थोड़ी कम होती है. But apart from this, all the other features are like a ballistic missile. That is why we call it a quasi-ballistic missile. Got it? So it has a range of 150 to 500 kilometer, and an added feature is that it includes navigation system. So this is about Pralay missile. You have to remember its maiden test flight has been conducted by DRDO. That is why it's in news. It is indigenously developed. It is a surface-to-surface missile. It is India's first conventional quasi-ballistic missile. It has a range of 150 to 500. ये नहीं भी याद रहा तो it's fine. Quasi-ballistic वाला point you have to remember. Surface-to-surface you have to remember, and it includes a navigation system. This you have to remember. Next is Astra missile. Astra, it starts with A, ends with A. This way you can remember कि ये एक air to air missile system है. You have to develop these tricks because it is very confusing to remember, to kind of mug up these things, right? So try to develop these small mnemonics, these small tricks. They'll help you in exam. So Astra missile is an A to A, which means air to air missile system. Why has this been in news? Because light combat aircraft Tejas has recently test fired it. So basically missiles are launched किसी चीज से. जैसे in this case, it's the aircraft Tejas that has launched it. We'll read about Tejas separately also in the coming slides. For now, just remember that it has been launched recently, test fired recently by Tejas. That is why it is in news. It is also indigenously developed by DRDO. We read the same point here, okay? Don't forget. It is based on what is known as beyond visual range air-to-air missile. What does this mean? This means that its operating range exceeds 37 kilometers. This is what we call BVR, beyond visual range. It is an all-weather, which means every season, day and night capability it has. It can operate in any season, throughout the day and the night. It is designed to mount on fighter aircrafts, and it has various versions. So, for example, if you change the range, if there's some new technology that has been added and its range is extended, then we get a new version. For example, MK1 has 110 kilometers, but MK2 is 160 kilometers. It has an altitude up to 20 kilometer and a mass of 4.5. You have to tell me in the comment section कि ये कौन से category में आएगा फिर. अस्त्रा मिसाइल का अगर maximum speed Mach 4.5 है, तो वो सबसोनिक में आएगा, सुपरसोनिक में आएगा या हाइपरसोनिक में आएगा, ये आपको बताना है कमेंट सेक्शन में. आपको पता है कैसे क्लासिफाई करते हैं. चलो, next is our S-400. It has been in news continuously since, I guess, 2018-19. And there's a lot of controversy that is involved with this missile. It was also asked in UPSC Mains 2021. So this is very important again. Why? Why was there a controversy? Why? So see, what is this? This is a missile system जो इंडिया ने प्रोक्योर किया है रशिया से. अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है? तो यूएस का एक लेजिस्लेशन है, काटसा बोलते हैं इसे हम. सो बेसिकली इसमें क्या होता है कि अगर यूएस का कोई डिफेंस पार्टनर प्रोक्योर करता है कोई भी डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट को कुछ सिलेक्टेड कंट्रीज से, तो यूएस उनमें सैंक्शंस लगाती है, एंड वन अमंग दो सिलेक्टेड कंट्रीज इज आल्सो रशिया. सो वी वर वेरी कंसर्न दैट मे बी यूएस S-400 क्योंकि हमने रशिया से परचेज किया तो सैंक्शंस लगाए. बट नाउ इट इज इन न्यूज बिकॉज यूएस हैज वेव्ड इट. See, India on track for sanctions waiver for US for buying Russian S-400 missile system. So there's a high chance that the US is inclining towards waiving it. तो ये वेव कैसे करते हैं वो, तो उनका केस बाय केस बेसिस इन्वेस्टिगेशन होता है, एंड इफ दे फील कि वेव किया जा सकता है सैंक्शन, तो फिर वो वेव कर देते हैं. So let us read about S-400. It is a very powerful missile system. It is mobile, which means it can easily be moved from one place to another. It is long range. It is a surface to air missile system. It has 4 different missiles and it operates at 4 different ranges. 400 kilometer, 250 kilometer, 120 kilometer, and short range 40 kilometer. It can engage 80 targets at one time only within a response time of 9 to 10 seconds. So it is a very powerful missile system. Next missile that we have to study is Helena. Helena has also been in news a lot. So it is also indigenously developed. और हमने कौन सा पढ़ा अभी indigenously developed? पहले पढ़ा था indigenously developed और अस्त्रा पढ़ा था. अभी हेलेना ये भी indigenously developed है और launched anti-tank guided missile Helena. Helena was successfully flight tested. What is an anti-tank guided missile? So these missiles target vehicles with heavy artillery, heavy machinery. जो बड़े बड़े vehicles होते हैं, बड़े बड़े defense equipments होते हैं, उनको ये target करते हैं. Third generation fire and forget class ATGM system mounted on advanced light helicopter. This basically tells you how should it be launched, how is it launched. Fire and forget we have already dealt with. Again, this also has all-weather day and night capability. Moving ahead, we are now transitioning to naval technology that has been in news. So our first topic is INS Vagir, Indian naval ship Vagir. So it is a fifth Scorpion class submarine Vagir. What is Scorpion class submarine? तो इंडिया जो है वो सबमरीन वगैरह के डेवलपमेंट के लिए बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स चलाती है. उनमें से एक है प्रोजेक्ट 75. तो इसमें इंडिया is targeting the development of 6 submarines: कलवरी, खांडेरी, करंज, वेला, वाक्षीर और वगीर. तो इन 6 में से एक वगीर has been recently delivered to the Navy. That is why it is in news. Next is Indian naval ship Vikrant, massive achievement on the side of Indian defense system. So Indian naval ship Vikrant was commissioned recently, and over 76% of material and equipment on board the INS Vikrant is made indigenously. A very special feature of Vikrant that can be asked is the stow bar mechanism. Stow bar mechanism is basically whenever the Vikrant is to launch any missile system, it performs what is known as a ski jump. This is its tarika, this is its technique of launching it. So this is known as short takeoff but assisted recovery, that is stow bar. So you can get a direct question, stow bar recently seen in news is related to, or stow bar seen in the context of defense technology in India is associated with which of the following? And you will be given INS Vagir, INS Kalvari, INS Vikrant, INS Vikramaditya, similar questions. So you should know that it is associated with INS Vikrant. Next, because these projects are often in news, you should know what are they targeting? What is their aim? What are they targeting to produce? So project 15B produces what is known as guided missile destroyers. It is in succession of project 15A. उसके बाद ये 15B आया. ये stealth guided missile destroyers होते हैं. मतलब stealth refers to something which is very secretive. तो ये बहुत slow, इनमें ज़्यादा sound नहीं होता है, and they operate in a very secretive manner. There are 4 ships under this project 15B: Vishakhapatnam, Mormugao, Imphal, and Surat. All right. Then we come to project 17A, which is targeting the development of frigates. What are frigates? तो कई बार क्या होता है कि बहुत सारे ships के साथ आपको एक छोटा ship दिखता है. This ship is meant for protecting the other ships, and this is what you called as a frigate. So a frigate is smaller ship used for the basic purpose of protection. Now इसमें आपका नीलगिरी, उदयगिरी, तारागिरी और महेंद्रगिरी आता है. Next we come to the aircrafts and helicopters in news. So Dhruv advanced light helicopter, you would have heard, it has been in news. You can get a direct question, from these kinds of topics. Dhruv recently seen in news is what? So one option will be gun, one will be missile, one will be helicopter, the other will be drone. You have to mark Dhruv is what is Dhruv. So it is a multi-role, multi-mission, new generation helicopter, which means it can engage itself in multiple applications. Civil ho ya military ho. HAL ke dwara it has been developed, and it operates in all weather condition, and this is possible because of a special engine that it has, which is the Shakti engine. Shakti engine abhi ek baar aur padhenge. So remember, okay, we have read Shakti engine in the context of Dhruv right now. We'll read about it once again aage. Next is LCA Tejas. So Tejas अभी हमने पढ़ा था, किसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में पढ़ा था तेजस? कमेंट सेक्शन में मेंशन करो. तेजस को क्या लॉन्च करने के लिए अभी यूज किया गया है? मेंशन इन द कमेंट सेक्शन. गो बैक टू दैट स्लाइड, रिवाइज दैट टॉपिक एंड मेंशन इट इन द कमेंट सेक्शन. तो LCA तेजस एक ऑल वेदर मल्टी रोल फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट है. विच इज अगेन देखो मल्टी रोल। तो आजकल जो एयरक्राफ्ट डेवलप कर रहे हैं हम, वो बहुत हद तक मल्टीपल एप्लीकेशंस वाले हैं, क्योंकि आप देखो जो नीड है डिफेंस टेक्नोलॉजी की वो भी बहुत डाइवर्सिफाई हो गई है जब से टेक्नोलॉजी हर कंट्री अपनी अपग्रेड कर रही है। सो वी हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट वी आर एट पार विद ऑल दोस कंट्रीज व्हेन इट कम्स टू टेक्नोलॉजीज, राइट। तो इसीलिए चीजें बहुत अपग्रेडेड हैं आज, बहुत डाइवर्स है। Capable of taking up offensive air support, close combat and ground attack role easily, designed by ADA and produced by HAL. Next is LCH Prachand. Again, very important. You can get a direct question from here. Indigenously developed है ये, HAL ने develop किया है. It is the only attack helicopter in the world जो land और take off कर सकता है 5000 meters के altitude में. This is important. This you have to remember. Capable of firing air से ground और air to air missiles. मतलब air से ground भी, कि air से surface बोल लो, air से ground बोल लो, ये operate करता है और air से air भी करता है. Fitted with 5.8 ton twin engine named शक्ति इंजन, और शक्ति इनेबल करता है कि प्रचंड जो है वो ये फीचर दिखा सके, एल्टीट्यूड वाला फीचर, एंड इस वजह से इट कैन बी वेरी इजीली डिप्लॉयड इन हाई एल्टीट्यूड एरियाज लाइक द सियाचिन ग्लेशियर. Next we come to Nirakshi. Again very important, you can expect a direct question. It has been in news. ये इंडिया का फर्स्ट ऑफ इट्स काइंड ऑटोनोमस अंडर वाटर व्हीकल है, मतलब ये पानी के अंदर ऑपरेट करेगा. व्हाट इज द यूज? तो जितने भी आपके सी बेस्ड सर्वेज है या आपके अंडर वाटर माइन डिटेक्शन वगैरह है वो ये इजीली कर सकता है. तो इट इज निराक्षी. इट हैज एन एंड्योरेंस ऑफ अप टू 4 hours एंड इट कैन गो अप टू 300 meters deep. Now there have been certain defense related terms in news, जैसे पॉजिटिव इंडिजिनेशन लिस्ट. तो यू वुड हैव सीन कि हमारी गवर्नमेंट एक्सपोर्ट्स को प्रमोट कर रही है. We are promoting indigenization of the defense sector. So in this context, the government time to time releases what is known as a positive indigenation list. This list basically includes a series of items that have to be procured by Air Force हो गया, आर्मी हो गया, नेवी हो गया, any Indian armed force only indigenously, only locally, which means they cannot be imported. Their import is banned. वो आप बाहर से इंपोर्ट नहीं कर सकते हो, आपको ये लोकल लेना है, वो जितना भी इक्विपमेंट्स है. अब लोकल कैसे ले? जरूरी नहीं है कि आप पीएसयू से लो, आप प्राइवेट पार्टी से भी लो, बट लोकल होने चाहिए, इंडिजिनस होने चाहिए, मेड इन इंडिया होने चाहिए. तो पॉजिटिव इंडिजिनेशन लिस्ट ऑफन सीन इन न्यूज इज रिलेटेड टू, 4 ऑप्शंस रहेंगे. अब आपको पता है इट इज रिलेटेड टू द डिफेंस सेक्टर. नेक्स्ट है टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलपमेंट फंड. सो यहाँ बहुत कंफ्यूजिंग क्वेश्चन बन सकता है. टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलपमेंट फंड रिसेंटली सीन इन न्यूज इज रिलेटेड टू डिप्लॉयमेंट ऑफ 5G, डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द डिफेंस सेक्टर, सेल्फ रिलायंस इन डिफेंस सेक्टर, और 2 और ऑप्शन. तो यू कैन वेरी इजीली गेट कंफ्यूज्ड बिकॉज दिस टर्म एज सच डज नॉट स्पेसिफाई डिफेंस किसी भी तरीके से. But this fund is related to the promotion of self-reliance in defense technology as a part of Make in India initiative. It is a program of Ministry of Defense, but it is executed by DRDO. It encourages the participation of public and private industries, especially MSMEs, to create an ecosystem for enhancing cutting-edge technology capability for defense application. Next is theaterization. Again, a term which has been in news. I'll explain it to you in very simple terms. What is theaterization? It is not a new thing. It is there in countries like US and China, I assume. So basically what happens is there's a commander. This commander can be from Air Force or Army or Navy. And there are some small tukadis of forces of each of these 3 that are maintained by this commander. Why? If any situation arises where there's an urgent need, an emergency situation, and urgent need of the 3 forces, the 3 wings, they can be very easily assembled because of theaterization, and their resources can also easily be accessed. So what is theaterization? It is a unified command structure in which the Army, Navy, Air Force are combined under a single commander for specific geographical areas. Obviously, जो एरियाज जोग्राफिकली बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, जैसे बॉर्डर एरियाज हो गए आपके, तो वहां ये की जाती है जिनका स्ट्रेटेजिक और सिक्योरिटी सिग्निफिकेंस होता है. दिस कंसेप्ट इंटेल्स द कमांडर हैविंग एक्सेस टू ऑल द रिसोर्सेज ऑफ द आर्मी, नेवी, एयर फोर्स, इनेबलिंग हार्मोनियस एंड इफेक्टिव कोऑर्डिनेशन. Next, again, it has been in controversy a lot, especially in Bihar, UP areas, the Agnipath scheme. What is this scheme about? So this scheme aims at providing an opportunity to patriotic and motivated youth with the Josh and Jazba to join the armed forces. Again, all the three, Army, Navy, Air Force. Eligibility है 17.5 से 23 years के youth, they can apply for this scheme. Patriotic and motivated youth can serve in the armed forces for a period of 4 years. Suppose if there are 100 people, 1,000 people who are selected, so 25% of them would be given recruitment for a period of 15 years, while the rest will be given some sort of skill training, gratuity, etc. And they won't be continuing with the service. They can then carry forward with their career, but the 25% will be given an extension of recruitment of 15 years. So this is about Agnipath scheme. The individuals joining it will be called as Agniveers. So that is pretty much about the progress that the defense sector has seen in the last 1.5 to 2 years. I mean, obviously there's a lot, but because of time constraint, we are limiting ourselves to the most important topics. However, there'll be also detailed notes prepared on these topics for your own reference. So just go through the notes at once. Now, next we come to certain recommendations that have been given by the parliamentary panel with regards to the defense sector. So the panel has said that fix a definite benchmark that this percent of our GDP has to be spent in the defense sector. This should be a defense budget. So see, ideally, the ideal allocation should be 3%, but feasibility may be explored to fix a benchmark as per the country's GDP. This is a global standard. It differs depending on the country that you are dealing with. So depending on which country we are talking about, there should be a fixed percentage of GDP that has to be allocated to the defense sector. The parliamentary panel has also recommended to invest more in the development of electronic warfare system and drones, obviously because of the technology upgradation that is taking place around us. So now we are mostly done with this discussion. Let us have a look at a 2023 previous year question. So this question tells, consider the following statements. Ballistic missiles are jet operated at subsonic speeds throughout their flights, while cruise missiles are rocket powered only in the initial phase of flight. Agni 5 is a medium range supersonic cruise missile, while BrahMos is a solid fueled intercontinental ballistic missile. It might seem like a difficult question, but it is actually an easy question. Why? Because even if you know just half part of the question, you'll be able to answer it. So right now we have read that cruise missiles are guided. Ballistic missiles are not guided throughout. What does the first statement say? Cruise missiles are rocket powered only in the initial phase. This is wrong because A, ballistic missiles are rocket powered only in the initial phase. Cruise missiles are jet propelled at subsonic speeds throughout the flights. So this is wrong. The first statement is wrong, which eliminates 1 and 3. All right, let us have a look at the second statement. Agni 5 is a medium range supersonic cruise missile. So even if you have not read about Agni 5, you know that Agni 3 is a ballistic missile. You know that much. So you are inclining towards it, but we are not yet sure about it, right? And the second part is BrahMos is a solid fueled intercontinental ballistic missile. So we have just now read that there are 2 stages in the BrahMos missile. The first one is solid and the second one is liquid. So solid fuel, chalo, it's fine. Intercontinental ballistic missile. This is where you have to think. Is it a ballistic missile? No. BrahMos is a cruise missile. It is a supersonic long-range cruise missile working in the fire and forget principle, having a range of 600 kilometers, developed as a collaboration between India and Russia. Why is it in news? Because Philippines has signed a deal with us for the purchase of BrahMos missile. It is not a ballistic missile. It is a cruise missile, which means second statement is incorrect. Both the statements are incorrect. So our answer is D. The answer is D. None of the statements here are correct. So with this, we are done with a brief overview of the defense sector over the past 1.5 to 2 years. I really hope you like this session. If there is any suggestion, any recommendation at all that you have in your mind, Please let me know in the comment section. Thank you.